Imagine now the applause fading just enough for the judges to regain their breath. The boy stands on the stage, overwhelmed but holding himself together with a kind of poise that only a few performers ever manage at such a young age. He looks out into the sea of cheering faces and blinking lights, and for a moment, he doesn't smile. He just breathes. Slow. Deep. Controlled. As though he understands the magnitude of what he has just done. As though he knows that something in his life has just changed forever. Simon raises his hand, signaling for the audience to calm down. The clapping softens, the cheers shrink into murmurs, and the great theatre falls into a hum of anticipation. Simon leans in, studying the boy with a mix of curiosity, respect, and a glimmer of disbelief that he tries hard to hide. You can almost hear his thoughts. Who is this kid? Where did he come from? Right, saying, your voice is so pure. So clean. You have this tone that feels nostalgic, like something from another time, yet somehow completely yours. People in the audience nod. They feel it too. That strange mix of familiarity and originality. Sophia leans forward and says, you remind me of why talent shows exist. Because somewhere in the world, there's always someone like you waiting for a moment like this. Howie, with his signature sincerity, adds, Michael, I think people are going to talk about this performance for a very long time. And they were right. Because what none of them realized in that moment was that the story was about to take on a life of its own, bigger than the performance, bigger than the stage, bigger than the truth. The internet would reshape it, recreate it, and retell it in ways that blurred the line between reality and legend. But before we dive into the chaos that followed, before we explore how the world twisted this moment into something else entirely, let's stay on that stage a little longer. Because there's still more happening there. More emotion, more heart, more truth. The boy steps forward, nervous now that the performance is over. Singing was one thing. Talking afterward is something entirely different. Simon smiles at him and says, you know, when you walked out here and said your name, I thought someone was playing a trick on us. But you proved that you don't need to imitate anyone. You have your own gift. For the first time, the boy smiles. A small, shy smile. The kind of smile that says, I can't believe this is happening. Simon continues, how old are you again? 14, the boy replies softly. But somewhere, somehow, someone watching this at home would upload the video with a title that didn't match the truth. Someone would caption it wrong. Someone would edit it for drama. Someone would write 12-year-old Michael Jackson shocks AGT because it sounded more viral, more unbelievable, more shareable. And like all things on the internet, it stuck. Millions of views. Millions of likes. Millions of people convinced they were witnessing a literal reincarnation moment. The truth was overwhelmed not by lies, but by excitement. But none of that mattered to the boy on that stage in that moment. All that mattered to him was the overwhelming reality that after years of dreaming, after years of carrying a name that brought more pressure than pride, after years of practicing alone, he had finally stepped into his destiny. Heidi asks him where he's from. The boy answers politely, his voice shaking with humility. He talks about his upbringing, about growing up with a name that everyone commented on, judged, laughed about, or praised. He explains how teachers would call his name during roll call, and the class would giggle. How kids would dare him to dance or sing at school talent shows. How some people expected too much from him, while others expected nothing at all. He explains how he used to hide his singing voice because he didn't want people accusing him of copying Michael Jackson. He didn't want comparisons. He didn't want people saying, you think you're him, or you're trying too hard. So for a long time, he kept his gift to himself. Quietly. Secretly. Carefully. But one day, something changed. He heard a song, not by Michael Jackson, surprisingly, but a modern song that resonated with him deeply. A song that made him realize that talent is not about imitation. Talent is about expression. And he decided that he would no longer shrink himself just because his name carried weight. He would sing. He would perform. He would step into the world not as a copy of someone else, but as the first and only version of himself. He practiced for months. He worked on his voice. He worked on his breathing. He worked on his confidence. He studied performances, not to copy them, but to understand stage presence, musicality, rhythm, and storytelling. He rehearsed in front of mirrors, in empty rooms, in small local shows. He built himself from the ground up. And when the audition date came, he wasn't thinking about going viral. He wasn't thinking about becoming famous. He wasn't thinking about being compared to a legend. He was thinking only one thing: I hope they let me sing. The audience feels the emotion in his story. You can see people wiping tears. You can feel the warmth spreading through the room. Because this is not a story about a viral misunderstanding anymore. It's the story of a young boy finding his voice in a world that expected him to live in someone else's shadow. Simon tells his fellow judges that he believes the boy is one of the most memorable auditions of the night. Heidi says she wants to hear him again. Sophia says he belongs on the stage. Howie says people are going to replay this performance over and over. And they do. Over the next few days, the clip spreads across the internet like wildfire. People share it with captions like "Young Michael Jackson reborn," "You won't believe this kid, he sounds just like MJ, is this kid related to the King of Pop?" And of course, 12-year-old Michael Jackson shocks AGT judges. The mislabeling begins innocently enough. Someone uploads the clip with the wrong age. Maybe they misheard. Maybe they thought it sounded more shocking. Maybe they simply typed fast and got it wrong. But the internet doesn't correct small details. It multiplies them. Soon, countless channels repost the clip. Countless pages share it. Countless people comment on it. And before long, the world is convinced they saw a 12-year-old, not a 14-year-old. But it doesn't matter. Because the essence of the story remains true. A young boy named Michael Jackson walked onto a stage, opened his mouth, and stunned the world. And yet, the true beauty of the story lies beyond the viral misunderstanding. Behind the scenes, the boy returns home after his audition. He opens his phone and nearly drops it. His notifications are exploding. Messages from friends, family, strangers, producers, fans, and reporters flood his screen. People are calling him the new Michael Jackson, the reincarnation, the next superstar. Some of it overwhelms him. Some of it excites him. Some of it scares him. His family gathers around the television, watching his audition again and again. His mother cries. His father beams with pride. His siblings hug him. They can't believe the world is finally seeing what they have always known. The boy sits on the edge of his bed that night, listening to the comments, the reactions, the praise. He takes a deep breath and whispers to himself, "This is really happening." Meanwhile, the world continues talking. Social media erupts. Millions of comments flood in. Some compare him to Michael Jackson. Some say he has his own unique style. Some say they felt chills. Some say they cried. Some say AGT hasn't seen talent like this in years. And through all of this noise, the story evolves. People begin analyzing the performance frame by frame. They slow down the vocal moments. They study his movements. They replay the crowd's reaction. They debate whether his name is a blessing or a burden. The myth grows. Yet, the boy remains grounded. He continues practicing every day, determined not to be defined by a viral moment but to build a lasting career. As the competition progresses, he returns to the AGT stage with even more confidence. The second performance carries more power, more control, more depth. This time, he chooses a song that requires emotional range and vocal maturity. The crowd holds their breath as he begins. His voice is stronger now, fuller, more resonant. He commands the stage with a presence far beyond his years. Every note lands with precision. Every move carries intention. Every moment feels like a step toward something extraordinary. Simon looks impressed. Heidi is mesmerized. Sophia shakes her head again, whispering, "He's amazing." Howie leans back, smiling as though he knew this was coming. When the performance ends, the audience erupts louder than before. Another standing ovation. Another wave of praise. Another confirmation that the first performance wasn't luck. It was destiny. But even as the truth unfolds on TV, the viral legend runs wild online. People continue believing he is 12. Some think he is a young prodigy reborn. Some think he is a long-lost Jackson family member. Some think he's mimicking. Some think he's original. Whatever people believe, the important part is that they're talking about him. They're watching him. They're rooting for him. And the boy, simply being himself, continues giving the world something to feel. Something to remember. As the competition moves toward the live shows, he steps onto the stage once more. This time, the lights are brighter. The stakes are higher. The pressure is heavier. But the boy doesn't let it crush him. Instead, he lets it elevate him. He takes a deep breath, closes his eyes, and begins singing a song that carries raw emotion, a song about dreams, about identity, about finding one's voice. His voice trembles at first, then grows stronger, more passionate, more unguarded. You can feel his heart in every note. You can hear his journey in every breath. You can see his determination in every movement. The judges are moved. The audience is captivated. The performance becomes not just entertainment, but a statement. A declaration. A moment of truth. This boy, who walked onto the stage carrying the weight of a legendary name, is no longer in anyone's shadow. He is standing in his own light. The world continues watching. The myth continues spreading. The truth continues shining. And the boy continues growing. This is not the story of a 12-year-old Michael Jackson. This is not the story of imitation. This is not the story of reincarnation. This is the story of a young performer who stepped into a world of expectations and exceeded them all. A boy who took a name associated with greatness and proved that greatness is not inherited, it is earned. A boy who turned confusion into curiosity, curiosity into admiration, and admiration into inspiration. And that is why his performance lives on. Not because the internet twisted his age. Not because people wanted to believe in magic. But because magic actually happened on that stage, with or without the myth. The legend may be misreported, but the impact is real. This is the story of Michael Jackson, not the Michael Jackson, but the young boy who dared to sing, dared to step forward, dared to be seen, and dared to shine in a world that wasn't ready for him.